where the Ark of the Covenant was known to have been stored in Israel for 2 decades is about to be excavated for the very first time.
The Ark of the Covenant is a Jewish and Christian artifact that has been long believed to be a real and existing religious relic. However, no one in the modern era has ever seen it, something that caused skepticism from the public. If scientists and experts had the chance to unfold it this year, will humanity expect a good or terrible discovery? Expectations, revelations, and interpretations. If scientists were to discover the Ark of the Covenant in 2025, it would be one of the most astonishing archaeological and religious findings in human history. Revered for millennia, the Ark holds a central place in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions, symbolizing divine presence, covenant, and holiness. Its sudden reappearance would raise global excitement, but also significant scientific, historical, and theological challenges. The question of what would be discovered inside, if anything, would shape not only academic discourse, but potentially spiritual belief around the world. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Ark of the Covenant was a gold-covered wooden chest containing the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Other biblical texts also suggest that it once held Aaron's rod and a pot of manna, although these items were possibly symbolic or later additions to the legend. Therefore, if the Ark were to be opened, the most anticipated discoveries would include inscribed stone tablets bearing ancient Hebrew writing, consistent with early Semitic script from the late Bronze Age. These tablets would be of tremendous significance, potentially offering direct physical evidence of a key biblical event. Discovering such an artifact would not only validate parts of the biblical narrative, but could provide one of the earliest known examples of written law. However, the discovery of the Ark would also bring intense scrutiny and skepticism. Scientists would conduct a battery of tests, carbon dating of the wood, metallurgical analysis of the gold, and linguistic examination of any inscriptions. If the results matched the biblical timeline, around the 13th or 15th century BCE, depending on interpretations, it would revolutionize our understanding of early Israelite history and religion. However, if the materials or inscriptions suggested a later origin, possibly from the First Temple period, 10th or 6th centuries BCE, scholars might argue that the Ark was a ritual object constructed to fit an evolving religious ideology, rather than the miraculous artifact described in Exodus. On the other hand, what if the Ark were empty? This outcome, while seemingly disappointing, would be just as important. It could suggest that the original contents were removed, stolen, or lost over centuries. Alternatively, it might reinforce the interpretation that the Ark was a symbolic object, less about what it physically contained and more about what it represented: the presence of God, the authority of divine law, and the unification of a people around a shared covenant. Such a discovery would prompt theologians to reassess the role of materiality in sacred traditions and consider how belief systems are shaped even in the absence of physical evidence. There is also the matter of legend and fear. Popular culture and religious traditions often portray the Ark as a dangerous or untouchable artifact, sometimes suggesting supernatural consequences for those who dare to look inside. These ideas, while rooted more in mythology than scripture, would influence public reaction. Scientists might approach the object with extreme caution, using remote sensors or robotic tools to examine its contents. If anything unexplained occurred, such as electromagnetic anomalies or rapid degradation of surrounding materials, it could fuel conspiracy theories, pseudo-scientific claims, or claims of divine intervention. Moreover, the geopolitical implications of such a discovery cannot be overstated. Found likely in a highly contested region, possibly Jerusalem, Ethiopia, or elsewhere in the Middle East, the Ark would become an immediate focal point of religious, national, and political tensions. Competing claims over its ownership could spark international disputes. Custody of the artifact would be debated between religious authorities, governments, scholars, and even the United Nations. Its presence could either inspire unprecedented interfaith dialogue or deepen divisions, depending on how it was handled. If scientists were to discover and open the Ark of the Covenant in this year, they would not only be unveiling a sacred relic, but igniting a global conversation across disciplines and cultures. Whether it contained ancient tablets, ritual objects, or nothing at all, the Ark's significance would lie as much in its symbolism as in its substance. Such a moment would force humanity to confront the delicate balance between faith and reason, myth and evidence, and past and present. The discovery of the Ark would be more than a historical milestone. It would be a mirror reflecting our deepest beliefs about the sacred and the real. But have you heard of this Ark, or is it your first knowledge about it? A sacred relic of ancient Israel. The Ark of the Covenant is one of the most iconic and enigmatic religious artifacts in history, holding deep significance in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Ark was a gold-covered wooden chest constructed by the Israelites under the direction of Moses, following divine instructions given on Mount Sinai. It was built to house the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, the sacred laws given by God to the people of Israel. Over time, the Ark also came to symbolize God's presence and covenant with His chosen people, making it a central object of worship and reverence in ancient Israelite religion. Physically, the Ark was described in the Book of Exodus as being made of acacia wood, about 2.5 cubits long, approximately 45 inches or 1.1 meters, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. It was overlaid with pure gold inside and out, and it featured a gold lid known as the mercy seat, flanked by two cherubim, angelic figures whose wings overshadowed the cover. This design was not merely ornamental, it represented the heavenly throne of God. The space above the mercy seat was believed to be where God's presence dwelled, and it served as the point from which He would communicate with Moses and the high priest. The Ark played a central role in the Israelites' journey from Egypt to the Promised Land. It was carried by the Levites using poles inserted through rings on its sides, in strict accordance with divine command that it not be touched directly. During their travels, the Ark led the way, symbolizing divine guidance and protection. In key biblical episodes, such as the crossing of the Jordan River and the Battle of Jericho, the Ark's presence was associated with miraculous interventions and military victories, reinforcing its role as a tangible sign of God's power and favor. In the era of the United Monarchy, King David brought the Ark to Jerusalem, making it the religious and political heart of his kingdom. His son Solomon later housed it in the Holy of Holies within the First Temple, a sacred innermost chamber where only the high priest could enter, and only once a year on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. This enshrinement marked the peak of the Ark's liturgical significance. However, following the Babylonian conquest of Jerusalem in 586 BCE and the destruction of the First Temple, the Ark disappeared from historical record. Its fate has been the subject of much speculation and legend ever since. Various theories and traditions attempt to explain what happened to the Ark. Some suggest it was hidden by priests before the Babylonians could seize it. Others claim it was taken to Ethiopia, where the Ethiopian Orthodox Church asserts it resides in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Aksum. Yet another theory is that it was destroyed during one of the many invasions of Jerusalem. Despite centuries of archaeological exploration and religious interest, the Ark has never been definitively located, and its mystery continues to inspire religious devotion, academic study, and popular imagination. In religious symbolism, the Ark of the Covenant represents more than just a lost artifact. It embodies themes of divine law, presence, covenant, and holiness. For Christians, it is sometimes interpreted as a foreshadowing of Jesus Christ and the New Covenant. In Islamic tradition, the Ark, called tabut in Arabic, is mentioned in the Quran as a sign of God's favor, particularly in the story of Saul, Talut. Across traditions, the Ark serves as a powerful reminder of humanity's desire to connect with the divine and the enduring sacredness of covenantal relationship. The Ark of the Covenant stands as one of the most profound and mysterious religious relics in world history. Whether viewed as a literal artifact, a powerful symbol, or a subject of myth and legend, its influence on religion, culture, and art is undeniable. The search for the Ark, both physical and spiritual, continues to captivate minds, reminding us of the deep longing for meaning, connection, and the divine that transcends time and geography. Possibility and criticism. The Ark of the Covenant, as described in the Hebrew Bible, is a sacred chest built at the command of God to hold the tablets of the Ten Commandments. According to the book of Exodus, it was constructed during the Israelites' exodus from Egypt under the guidance of Moses and housed in the tabernacle before eventually being placed in Solomon's temple. While this account is deeply rooted in religious tradition, historians, archaeologists, and scholars have long debated whether such an artifact could have been constructed by ancient people, and whether the biblical narrative surrounding it is historically reliable. From a technological standpoint, it is entirely plausible that ancient people could have built the Ark as described. The specifications given in Exodus are relatively straightforward. A chest made of acacia wood overlaid with gold, approximately 2.5 cubits long, roughly 3.75 feet, with two golden cherubim on top. Ancient civilizations, including the Egyptians and Mesopotamians, demonstrated remarkable craftsmanship in woodwork, metallurgy, and religious art. The Israelites, if they had access to resources and artisans, perhaps learned or inherited from their time in Egypt, could theoretically produce such an object. Acacia trees grow in the Sinai and surrounding regions, and gold was well known and widely used in the ancient Near East. However, the major criticisms surrounding the Ark of the Covenant concern not its physical possibility, but its historical and archaeological credibility. First, there is no direct archaeological evidence that the Ark ever existed. No ancient artifacts matching its description have been unearthed, and there are no contemporary references to it outside the Hebrew Scriptures. This absence raises questions about whether it was a real object or a theological symbol developed over time. Some scholars argue that the Ark narrative may have been a later invention, used to give legitimacy to religious authority and centralize worship in Jerusalem during or after King Josiah's reforms in the 7th century BCE. Furthermore, the biblical account itself presents inconsistencies. For instance, The Ark is described as central to Israel's early religious life, yet it disappears from the historical record after the Babylonian destruction of Jerusalem in 506 CE, with no concrete explanation of its fate. Some later texts, such as 2 Maccabees and certain Ethiopian traditions, suggest it was hidden or taken elsewhere, but these are speculative and not corroborated by evidence. The sudden narrative disappearance of such a pivotal object has led many to suspect that its role may have been exaggerated or even mythologized. While it is physically possible that ancient people could have constructed an ornate chest like the Ark of the Covenant, the historical truthfulness of its existence remains heavily debated. The lack of archaeological evidence and the inconsistencies in textual sources suggest that the Ark may serve more as a powerful religious symbol than a literal historical artifact. The mystery of the Ark of the Covenant. Where is it now? After its last confirmed location in the First Temple in Jerusalem, the Ark disappeared from historical records following the Babylonian destruction of the Temple in 500 BCE. Since then, countless legends, theories, and claims have emerged, each attempting to pinpoint its current location. Despite the efforts of archaeologists, historians, and theologians, the Ark's whereabouts remain unverified, contributing to its mythic status in both religious tradition and popular imagination. One of the most prominent and enduring claims is that the Ark of the Covenant resides in Ethiopia, specifically in the city of Aksum. According to Ethiopian Orthodox tradition, the Ark was brought to Ethiopia by Menelik the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, during the 10th century BCE. The Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Aksum is believed to house the Ark in a guarded chapel. This claim is central to Ethiopian national and religious identity. However, the artifact is not available for public viewing, and access is restricted to a single monk known as the Guardian of the Ark, who alone is allowed to see it. While this secrecy has fueled skepticism among scholars, the strength of the tradition and the Ethiopian Church's unwavering insistence on its authenticity continue to draw attention and reverence from believers and curious minds alike. Another popular theory is that the Ark was hidden in or around Jerusalem to protect it from invading forces. This idea is rooted in various Jewish traditions, including apocryphal and rabbinical sources, which suggest that the prophet Jeremiah, foreseeing the Babylonian invasion, hid the Ark in a cave, possibly on Mount Nebo, where Moses once viewed the Promised Land. Supporters of this theory believe the Ark still lies in a concealed chamber beneath the Temple Mount or in nearby caves. Although archaeological digs have been limited in Jerusalem, particularly around the Temple Mount, due to religious and political sensitivities, some believe the Ark could still be discovered in the region. Despite these efforts, no definitive archaeological evidence has surfaced to confirm this theory. A more mystical interpretation, found particularly among Christian theologians, is that the Ark has been taken into heaven. This idea is derived from passages such as Revelation 11:18, which describes the Ark appearing in the heavenly temple. For many Christians, this symbolism suggests that the Ark's earthly role has been fulfilled through the new covenant in Jesus Christ, and that it now exists spiritually rather than physically. This view aligns with a theological rather than historical or archaeological perspective, emphasizing the continuity of divine presence rather than the preservation of a physical object. While not supported by material evidence, this interpretation reflects the evolution of religious understanding surrounding sacred artifacts and their ultimate spiritual meaning. In recent decades, a curious and controversial claim has surfaced involving CIA remote viewing programs during the Cold War. According to reports from declassified documents and anecdotal testimonies, remote viewers under Project Stargate claimed to have located the Ark in a Middle Eastern location, possibly underground, near domes associated with Islamic holy sites. The remote viewing descriptions included imagery consistent with biblical accounts of the Ark, such as a gold-covered chest and cherubim. However, critics argue that remote viewing is not a reliable or scientifically validated method, and the CIA's own documentation often labeled such sessions as speculative or inconclusive. While intriguing to conspiracy theorists and paranormal researchers, this theory lacks the empirical support needed to be taken seriously by mainstream scholars. Another sensational theory comes from Egypt, where British anthropologist Dr. Paul Warner claimed in 2025 to have discovered a hidden chamber beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza, possibly containing the Ark of the Covenant. Warner released photographs and video evidence suggesting the existence of a sealed double cave system containing what appeared to be a golden box with winged figures. Details strikingly similar to biblical descriptions of the Ark. This claim sparked international interest, particularly due to the enduring fascination with Egyptian tombs and biblical mysteries. However, Egyptian authorities have not confirmed the discovery, and many archaeologists have dismissed the theory due to the lack of peer-reviewed evidence or independent verification. As with many modern claims about ancient mysteries, skepticism remains high without broader academic support. Despite the wealth of theories and centuries of speculation, no conclusive evidence has been found to confirm the present location of the Ark of the Covenant. Each proposed location, from Ethiopia to Jerusalem, from Egypt to heaven, reflects differing perspectives shaped by theology, tradition, legend, and scientific inquiry. While some claims are grounded in ancient lore and national identity, others draw on mystical visions or modern conspiracy theories. What is clear is that the Ark continues to inspire deep curiosity and spiritual awe. Whether it still exists somewhere on Earth, was destroyed, or resides in a purely symbolic or divine realm, the Ark remains a powerful symbol of faith, mystery, and the human quest for connection with the divine. The Ark of the Covenant is not merely a lost artifact, but a vessel of meaning that transcends time and geography. Its uncertain fate has only heightened its status as one of history's most sacred and sought-after treasures. Whether one views it through the lens of faith, archaeology, or legend, the Ark continues to challenge our understanding of the past and invite reflection on the enduring power of spiritual heritage. What is believed to be inside the Ark of the Covenant? For centuries, believers and scholars alike have debated what was actually placed inside this holy object. While different religious traditions and interpretations offer varying perspectives, the core beliefs center around three main items: the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, Aaron's rod that budded, and a golden pot of manna. Each of these items carried deep spiritual significance and represented critical moments in the biblical narrative. The most commonly accepted and central item believed to reside within the Ark is the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments. These were the laws given to Moses on Mount Sinai, inscribed by the finger of God, according to the book of Exodus. These commandments were the foundation of the covenant between God and the Israelites, a divine legal and moral code. Initially, Moses received 2 tablets, but after breaking them in anger upon seeing the Israelites worshiping the golden calf, he received a second set, which was then placed in the Ark. Their presence in the Ark symbolized not only divine law, but also the restored relationship between God and His people. From a religious standpoint, these tablets were not merely legal documents. They were a physical embodiment of the divine will, carried at the heart of the community. The second item believed to be inside the ark was Aaron's rod that budded, as referenced in the Book of Numbers. This miraculous staff once belonged to Aaron, Moses' brother, and served as a symbol of his divinely ordained priesthood. During a time of rebellion against Moses and Aaron's leadership, God commanded that each tribe of Israel provide a rod to be placed before the ark overnight. The next morning, Aaron's rod had miraculously budded, blossomed, and produced almonds, confirming his chosen status. The preservation of this rod in the ark served as a constant reminder of God's power and authority, as well as the legitimacy of the priesthood. Its presence would have reinforced the sacred role of religious leadership among the Israelites and served as a warning against rebellion. The third item, traditionally believed to have been stored in the ark, is the golden pot of manna, the mysterious food that God provided to the Israelites during their 40 years in the wilderness. Manna represented divine provision and sustenance, often interpreted as a symbol of God's grace and care. According to the book of Exodus, God instructed Moses to preserve a portion of this heavenly food in a golden container to be kept throughout your generations. This pot of manna was more than a food relic. It was a tangible sign of God's miraculous support in the harshest conditions, a reassurance of divine presence even when human resources were exhausted. Despite these traditional beliefs, not all biblical texts are entirely consistent about what was inside the ark. For example, the first book of Kings, during the dedication of Solomon's temple, states that there was nothing in the ark except the 2 tablets of stone. This suggests that by the time of the first temple, the rod of Aaron and the pot of manna may have been lost, removed, or their presence symbolic rather than literal. Such inconsistencies have led to scholarly debates over whether the other items were ever meant to be in the ark, or were later theological additions meant to enrich the narrative of God's interaction with His people. Beyond their physical descriptions, each item believed to be inside the ark carried symbolic meaning that resonated with the spiritual journey of the Israelites. The tablets represented law and covenant, the rod represented authority and divine choice, and the manna represented providence and daily reliance on God. Together, these items encapsulated the essence of Israel's relationship with the divine, one based on obedience, trust, leadership, and faith in divine sustenance. This symbolic triad continues to influence Jewish and Christian thought to this day, serving as metaphors for God's guidance, provision, and judgment. The 10 Commandments, Aaron's rod, and the pot of manna are not only significant religious relics, but enduring symbols of a spiritual journey. Their placement inside the ark signified a deep theological message, that the divine presence was not only to be worshipped from afar, but carried, protected, and remembered within the community of believers. Islamic views on the Ark of the Covenant. In Islamic tradition, the Ark of the Covenant, referred to in Arabic as Tabut al-Sakina, holds a respected yet more understated role compared to its prominence in Jewish and Christian scriptures. Although it is mentioned only briefly in the Quran, its appearance is significant, offering insight into early Islamic understandings of divine signs, leadership, and historical continuity with the people of Israel. Unlike the extensive biblical narrative found in the Old Testament, the Quranic account is concise and framed within the context of a broader theological message emphasizing divine legitimacy and support. The Ark is mentioned explicitly in Surah Al-Baqarah, where God speaks of the Ark in the time of the prophet Samuel. not named directly in the Quran, but referred to by Islamic scholars as a prophet sent to guide the children of Israel. This verse occurs during a discussion about the appointment of Talut, commonly identified with the biblical Saul, as king over the Israelites. When the people question Talut's legitimacy as a ruler, the prophet tells them that a divine sign of his rightful leadership will be the return of the ark. And their prophet said to them, "Indeed, a sign of his kingship is that the ark will come to you, in which is assurance from your Lord, and a remnant of what the family of Moses and the family of Aaron had left, carried by the angels. Indeed, in that is a sign for you, if you are believers." This verse encapsulates the spiritual and symbolic value of the ark. It is described not just as a container, but as a source of sakina, a word often translated as tranquility, peace, or divine reassurance. In this context, Tabut al-Sakina means the chest of tranquility, emphasizing its role as a vessel of divine blessing rather than merely a physical object. The mention of relics from Moses and Aaron further roots the ark in the continuity of prophecy and divine communication, linking Islamic understanding of sacred history with earlier Judeo-Christian traditions. Islamic commentators such as al-Tabari, Ibn Kathir, and al-Qurtubi elaborate on the ark's description based on both Quranic interpretation and Isra'iliyat, narratives derived from Jewish and Christian sources. According to these traditions, the ark was a wooden chest lined with gold, much like the biblical account, and it contained sacred relics such as fragments of the stone tablets given to Moses, the staff of Aaron, and possibly other holy items. These relics were considered sources of spiritual strength and divine favor. When the ark was present among the Israelites, they felt reassurance and confidence in battle. When it was lost, they experienced defeat and despair. In Islamic theology, however, the ark is not viewed as a permanent or worshipped object, nor does it play a central liturgical role as in some Jewish traditions. Its significance lies primarily in its function as a sign, ayah, from God. It affirmed rightful leadership, in this case, Talut's kingship, and served as a reminder of God's support for the righteous. The Quranic narrative avoids the notion of sacred objects holding power in themselves, instead emphasizing that their importance lies in the divine presence and will they represent. This reflects Islam's strict monotheism and rejection of any form of object veneration. Over the centuries, Muslim scholars have shown limited interest in locating or venerating the ark physically, unlike some Christian or Jewish groups. While there are occasional mentions of its possible location, such as in Jerusalem or hidden before the Babylonian exile, mainstream Islamic thought does not focus on recovering the ark as a religious goal. The emphasis is instead on moral and spiritual lessons derived from its story: faith, leadership, obedience, and the power of divine reassurance in times of crisis. While Islam does not dwell on the physical details or historical fate of the ark, the Quranic reference invites reflection on divine authority, sacred history, and the importance of trust in God's signs. In this way, the ark serves not as a relic of the past to be found, but as a spiritual symbol whose meaning continues to inspire believers today. A unifying symbol. The Ark of the Covenant was a powerful symbol of unity for the Israelites, serving as both a religious and national identity marker. Created after the Exodus from Egypt, it represented God's presence among His people, reinforcing their bond through divine law and covenant. The Ark was seen as the footstool of God's throne and led the Israelites through the wilderness, symbolizing God's guidance and protection, and reinforcing Israel as a nation under divine rule. The Ark also embodied the covenant between God and Israel, reminding the people of their special status as the chosen nation, especially during battles or religious events. Its presence in times of war, such as during the battle against the Philistines, highlighted its role in military and political matters. The Ark was also central to Israel's religious practices, fostering unity through shared worship and the rituals surrounding it. Moreover, the Ark symbolized divine justice and mercy, as it housed the Ten Commandments and was placed in the Holy of Holies. Its exclusivity reinforced the holiness of Israel's relationship with God, embodying both God's justice and the potential for atonement. Ultimately, the Ark was deeply woven into Israel's collective memory, serving as a tangible connection to their past and divine favor, and symbolizing their continued identity as a nation under God's protection. Over time, the mystery and reverence surrounding the Ark of the Covenant only deepened. Its disappearance from the biblical record has fueled centuries of speculation, spiritual yearning, and scholarly investigation. From ancient legends placing it in Ethiopia to theories of secret chambers beneath Jerusalem, the search for the Ark continues to unite historians, theologians, and adventurers alike. Regardless of its physical location, the Ark remains an enduring symbol of faith and divine presence, transcending generations and cultures. The influence of the Ark can also be seen in modern religious and cultural narratives. It has inspired countless works of art, literature, and film, and continues to be a subject of theological reflection. Its legacy speaks to the human desire for connection with the divine and the hope for guidance and protection in uncertain times. Even today, the Ark of the Covenant serves as a powerful reminder of spiritual purpose and unity. For believers, it is not merely a lost artifact, but a symbol of the promises and responsibilities tied to their faith. As such, it remains one of the most iconic and sacred elements in Judeo-Christian tradition, both a historical mystery and a spiritual cornerstone that continues to inspire awe and devotion. Do you believe the Ark of the Covenant to have ever existed? Let us read your comments below. Thanks for watching.